Hello guys, welcome to another video, and this one I want to do a bit of discussion on the Gemling Legionnaire Ascendancy and the rework that came in this patch, specifically the Advanced Thaumaturgy Notable, which has gem quality, grant, socketed skills, and additional effect. Now when this was showcased in the video, we didn't really know exactly what this was going to entail for different skills, and we actually got the data mine on Friday just before launch, of course, but most people already had their build ideas locked in for the league starters, myself included. And since the launch, I've already rerolled once because the martial artist build was a bit of a disaster. I've then been playing a Acolyte of Chayula in SSF, and I'm now considering rerolling again after looking at a bunch of the skill gem quality stats that come from this Advanced Thaumaturgy node. So in this video I wanted to do a bit of discussion on those gem quality stats, because in some cases they are just, generic power boosts, a little bit of extra damage, a little bit of extra defense. But there's also others that are kind of more build defining, and you kind of change the way you actually build the skill, or maybe it enables a different playstyle entirely. So those are the ones I want to kind of focus on in this video. And before we actually get into the skill gems, let's discuss how you obtain skill gem quality. So normally, a skill gem can get up to 20% quality by using Gem Cutter's Prisms, and then you can corrupt a skill gem to get up to 23% quality at a maximum corruption. Then the Gemling Legionnaire Ascendancy here has 3 small nodes. If you take all of them, you'll have 6% quality to all skills. This may not seem like a lot at 2% each, but considering there's not much extra quality you can actually get on skill gems elsewhere, this is actually quite a lot. Then you can take the new Paragon Anoint Only Notable there, which is going to cost you a Ferocity, Isolation, and Despair, and that is plus 5% to quality of all skills. It will also give you plus 5 to all attributes. Note that this one is not on the passive tree, it is Anoint Only. Then there's the Diala's Desire Lineage Support Gem there, which is plus 5% to quality of supported skills. That was nerfed in this patch, it used to be 10%. But this is still going to be a very good support gem, and this is also the most expensive method to obtain quality in your build, because this gem is very rare and it's very sought after, so do expect to pay quite a lot for this. Then on the amulet you can get a suffix. It's a Kurgle modifier from Desecration, and it's plus 3 to 5% to quality of all skills. Now let's get straight into it, beginning with Walking Calamity, which is this bear transform skill. You've probably seen this one where it's kind of like a bunch of meteors raining down all around the bear. It's kind of like an ultimate ability. You can use it after you've built a bunch of glory by gaining rage while you're already at maximum rage. And all of these meteors, there's lots of small ones and a few large ones falling down. You can see the large ones do a lot of damage there, 612% weapon damage whenever one of those hits. And that's on a level 20 gem, so this can go a lot higher with gem levels too. But this is a skill that you can kind of use to just walk around the map and clear everything around you without even using any extra abilities. And the idea that you can stack up this stat right here, which is chance to not consume glory, could be quite powerful to be able to chain this skill back to back. This is 2.5% of this stat per quality, so at the baseline 20% quality you have 50%. And you can also get more of it from the Everlasting Glory node here, which is on the passive tree. As a Gemling, you could easily path down here and grab this one on your way up to this area here, which has all of the kind of transform talisman style nodes up there. And that is 15% chance to not consume glory. Now do keep in mind that glory is a mechanic where you gain glory, and then if you don't gain glory within 15 seconds, it does begin to decay. And that would include not consuming glory. So if you don't consume the glory, it just sits there. And then if you don't gain glory within 15 seconds, it will start to decay. So in regards to Walking Calamity, it's a 10-second skill at a baseline. You can boost that up with skill effect duration. But ideally, you want this to be around 15 seconds or just less than 15 seconds. So that every time this ends, you can then gain a tiny bit of rage whilst you're already at maximum rage, and you will be at maximum rage because this skill already regenerates rage. And then once you regain a tiny bit of rage there between uses, you will reset the glory decay timer, and then you can just use the skill again. So ideally you'd be able to get enough of this stat so that you never consume glory, and then you can just kind of walk around the map all the time with Walking Calamity active. There's also Hammer of the Gods there, which has the same quality stat, chance to not consume glory, so once again you can stack this up for this skill and be able to kind of spam this skill back to back if you can get enough of it. And this one builds Glory by heavy stunning enemies. Now, Glory does kind of have the downside of not being able to build Glory with that specific skill, but there is another node that you can make use of on the passive tree, which is Glorious Anticipation, which says skills gain 1 glory every 2 seconds for each rare or unique monster in your presence, and that way you should be able to avoid that decay timer. This one appears somewhere close to the other node there, so this is not in a terrible place. If you're moving over here, you're already going to be wanting to grab the mace stuff on the tree, so that is something you could consider. Up next, we've got Spark, which doesn't really have a build-defining quality stat, but it is a really strong one. It's an additional fired projectile for every 5% quality, so with just this skill alone and then the Gemling Legionnaire, you're already going to be firing an additional 5 projectiles on top of the baseline 9 from a level 20 gem. That is really, really strong. And the other thing that's quite powerful here is that the original gem quality on this skill is increased projectile speed, which is already a really strong stat when it comes to Spark. And because you're kind of stacking up quality and wanting to stack quality, you're kind of double dipping there with the quality stat. You're gaining extra projectiles and you're gaining projectile speed, which can lead to a lot more damage. So I wanted to throw that one in this video because that is just really, really powerful. It doesn't really change the way you build the skill, but it's still going to be very, very strong. Now, I wanted to mention Wind Dancer in this video because this one has 2.5% more damage per stage per percentage of quality, and the skill already has 50% more damage per stage. And if you've been playing PoE 2 for a while, you may have remembered some of the builds that used to use this for clearing maps, where they would just run around and monsters would hit them, and they would just have this giant kind of area hit that just comes off of them automatically every time they get hit. Well, that was Wind Dancer, and people were using this skill on non-evasion builds because it was very good at doing just that. Then it got nerfed a little bit, and you can see that the attack damage is not very good at all at 82% of base on a level 20 skill. But if you have a lot of quality from this, you're going to be getting a lot more damage per stage. With just this skill at 20% quality and the Gemling combined, you're already going to be looking at around 115% more damage per stage, and this already stacks up to 3 stages there. And if you're able to also scale up the gem level quite a bit there, which you can do with, modifiers to attacks and things like that, or melee skills, you can also bring the duration between stages gain down quite a bit, so you can just continuously have this ready to go every time you come up to a monster pack. Next up, we have Whirlwind Lance. Now, I use this a little bit in patch 0.2. This is actually a really fun ability when you're able to spend frenzy charges, but this one has the kind of built-in elemental whirlwind thing that's going on with the other whirlwind abilities as well, where when you actually create a whirlwind, it kind of takes on the effects of any ground effects that it's on top of. So, for example, if you have a burning ground there, and you actually use the whirlwind on top of the burning ground, it will take on that elemental type and it will gain 50% of damage as extra fire. However, the quality stat from Gemling will make it gain an extra 2.5% damage per percentage of quality, so 50% extra at 20% quality. And that means that whenever you're able to kind of gain those ground effects, you're able to deal so much more damage with this one. So that could be really good. And next up, I've got to talk about Flameblast because I think this is the reason why I'm going to reroll a Gemling. And this is the quality stat right here. 40% more magnitude of damaging ailments per stage. Okay, so this is at 20% quality, it would be 40%. And Flameblast can have up to 10 stages. So this is 400% more magnitude of damaging ailments. And it's going to be more than that with quality stacking. This is kind of absurd. The skill already has 75% more damage per stage, and with 400% more magnitude, for example, if you inflict an ignite, instead of dealing 20% of its damage per second for 4 seconds, it's going to be dealing 100% of its damage per second for 4 seconds. So that is already really, really strong. You also have the baseline more cast speed there from quality, which is something that you really, really want on Flameblast because it's a very, very slow wind-up to actually get to those maximum stages. So that is definitely something you could play around with, especially with the new Blistering Bond unique ring, which is right here. Now, this doesn't have the updated stats, but here is the patch note change, which is the Blistering Bond unique ring now has fire damage, also contributes to bleeding magnitude, and the bleeding you inflict deals fire damage instead of physical damage, in addition to its other modifiers. So if you make use of that with Flameblast, you'll be able to inflict Ignite and Bleed if you have the Bleed chance. And then those ailments are both dealing fire damage, and they also both inherit that 40% more ailment magnitude per stage. So this is definitely what I'm looking into right now in terms of the Gemling Legionnaire. Now lastly, I want to mention these skills right here, which all have the same quality stat, which is a chance to not remove charges on use. So there's some really powerful ones in here. You always want to use these skills with charges so you get this kind of very, very strong effect. But often the problem that's posed by these abilities is being able to generate enough charges to kind of keep up with how much you want to use the skill. However, you can stack this stat, and it's an additive stacking stat, and you can get a lot of it from other sources. So you gain 1% right here from these extra quality stats coming from the Gemling Legionnaire. And then there's the Perpetual Charge Support Gem there, which is 25%. That one does have to be socketed into the skill, but it is a lot of that stat. Then there's the Idol of Eramir there, which goes in your body armor, and it has skills have 10% chance to not consume charges. That one is limited to 1, but instead of socketing it into your body armor, you could socket it into a Darkness Enthroned for body armors, which then can have up to 100% increased effect of socketed augment, so it would provide up to 20% of that stat. And there's also the Serpent's Egg Amulet right there, which can have a Vow Cultivation modifier for up to 15% of the same stat. So if you build that up enough, you can basically get these stats close to or all the way to 100% chance not remove charges. Now do keep in mind that you do still need to actually have the charge to benefit from the boosted effects of the skill, but you only would need to generate a charge once every 15 seconds or so to be able to actually keep at least one charge. And if you had 100% chance to never consume charges, you literally would only have to generate one charge in that interval. But even if you had somewhere around, 70 or 80% of this effect and you had a much lower charge generation, it would still be a very powerful combo, because most of the time you're just going to be able to get that benefit for free without having to generate a ton of extra charges. So these are really, really strong. Now, I will mention that there are a bunch of quality stats that are really quite powerful that are bugged right now. For example, Explosive Grenade is supposed to have plus 2-5 projectiles. This isn't actually plus 2-5 projectiles. What happens is this overwrites the base 1 projectile, so you end up with 2 rather than 3. So this is currently bugged, and hopefully this will be fixed in an upcoming patch. There's also some other bugs there, for example with totems, where instead of getting plus 1 totem, you just get the limit that it says. And some of the other quality stats there are not working at all, they're just not doing anything. So do keep that in mind if you're kind of looking at this list, and I will link this list in the description below so you can look at the quality stats. But keep in mind that some of them are currently bugged. If you want to kind of reroll into this Ascendancy and make a build around a particular skill, make sure you actually look at the forums and look at the Reddit and things like that to see if anyone is posting about particular bugged interactions, because there are a lot of bugs in this patch. But that's going to be it for this video. I just wanted to do a bit of discussion on the Gemling's Advanced Thaumaturgy, because I think it's really quite good. And let me know if I missed any really powerful quality stats in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and as always, stay tuned and stay safe.